How's it going, my fellow technicians? This is Daniel with the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Well, welcome to the new year. I know it's been crazy. 2020 flew by. I don't know if anyone else has that same feeling, but for me, man, it went by quick. And we are now into the 2021 and already starting off probably a little bit crazier than 2020, which I won't get into it. It's a lot of politics, and I already have enough of those going on here in California. So today's episode is going to be on something a little bit more personal to California. And from some of the sources we have, possibly Washington, Oregon, Massachusetts, and I'm probably going to go as far as, and I don't even know if New York has it as well, but possibly New York and a few other states are going to follow behind very, very quickly. Hopefully the other states are a little bit smarter than California and our wonderful politicians here. They are so great. But I want to talk about the new law that has been passed and has just been in effect as of last week. I know it's a little bit late getting to it, but I don't think a lot of people actually understand it yet. So I think it kind of passed. It went under the rug. Some people had some news of it, but I don't think actually everybody has been following up with it. And a lot of the texts, it's just kind of like, here it is, do this thing, and they don't explain much of it to you. So the new law is, so it's Assembly Bill number 1788, okay? They call it the California Ecosystem Protection Act. Okay, I love how they get very fancy with it. So in sense is what they've done here in California, Governor Newsom signed this law that goes in effect on Jan 1, which we already passed, okay? So by the time you guys are going to listen to it, it is going to be on Friday the 8th, which we've already had essentially 7 days with this new law, which a lot of companies probably already started implementing for you guys if you're technicians out there in California. But they may have not even explained exactly what's going on. So what happened and what kind of sparked this new law? And if you guys don't know what this is, I'll cover that real quick. So the new law, in sense, is going to limit the use of second-generation anticoagulants, okay, rodenticides, in the state of California, okay? That is, some of these I'm going to just murder, so bear with me. One of them's Brodifcom. Anyway, the products out there is Final, Formis, and Talon. The next one is Bromadiolon, Contract, Resolve, Mackie, Brigand. The other one is Difethalon, which is First Strike, Generation, Blue Max, Difenacom. That doesn't matter. But so they essentially took those four products, those four main active ingredients, gone. They took those away. You can't use those. And the reason behind it, so I actually went to this really cool class. So if you guys haven't gone, sorry about that, my phone's going off. So if you guys haven't gone to this in California, it's really awesome. So it was the Rodent Academy, okay, down in Irvine, California. So the Rodent Academy, you go down there, they go through all sorts of rodents, not just rats, Norway rats, the different rats we have, but they go even in more depth. They go into squirrels, they go into everything. And so when we were down there, me personally, when I was down there, they started bringing this subject up. And this was in 2018 or 2019. 2019. That's when it was. I went in 2019. And they brought this whole subject up. And so this whole thing, where it kind of came from, was there was this mountain lion in LA. And this mountain lion in LA died. And unfortunately, everyone cares way too much when an animal dies. But this animal died, okay? This mountain lion died. It's part of life, but it died. And they went and did an autopsy on this thing, okay? And the autopsy showed traces of contract in it. And so they blew that out of proportion. They didn't actually say why it died. They didn't even say contract was the reason why it died. But they said that was in it. And so in this Rodent Academy, they go through and they explain they were trying to get autopsies on it, and they were trying to get they were trying to get all this stuff. But anyway, so they were going through it, and so they said essentially this mountain lion died because of contract, but we're not going to give you the autopsy report. We're not going to tell anybody the real reason why it died, but this is why it died. And so they really started attacking contract. And some of the ag departments that go out and do, community things, putting out contract. There's one down in LA. They actually cut it out. I don't remember correctly, so I could be 100% wrong, and don't take it. But they essentially went from like hundreds or thousands of pounds of contract that they were placing down to like 8 pounds. Or 3 pounds or something like that. It was a ridiculous amount that they did the year before. They were done. They just stopped using it. And so they've cut it out completely. They've used other alternatives. They've explained to homeowners what to do and how to handle things. But so essentially they went through, they've already banned the second gen rodenticides for the public in California. But I guess the decline, in how many cases they have out there haven't. But apparently, when you eat contract, it actually stays in your system for a long time. So even if an animal eats another animal that has contract in it, it's now in that new animal's system. So essentially, it just keeps passing on. It doesn't actually affect that new animal, but now that animal, if they do a test, it's going to show that it's in their system. So then you get this whole idea of, well, if it just keeps passing, how do we know if it hasn't declined? Because you may not even be doing a test of how strong it is in that new animal or that new host. You're just saying it's in the new host now, so now it's there. It's in the new animal, so they must have eaten something or they got it. So now it's all kind of, the whole talk, and then which brought this whole new law up, which is just, once again, you tip your hat to the governors. I know sometimes their hands are tied and they kind of have to sign some of the laws, or they should, or whatever. But honestly, they should do their research, and they really should read through everything and make sure that it makes sense before they jump on something. So there's a little bit of controversy in this law, okay? So they took away these baits that work very, very well away from homeowners. And now they're taking it away from pest control operators. Now, we can't use it at multifamily homes. So any commercial properties we can't use it at. They've taken it away from residential homes. We can't use it there. We can't really use it anywhere other than these wonderful specific places, okay? You can use this stuff at a winery, brewery, warehouses that are food related, factories that are food related, agricultural production sites, medical facilities, manufacturing facilities, etc. So they've essentially taken it away from, we can't place it in places that are not in the wilderness, but now we can go place it in places that are in the wilderness. So wineries here in California, everybody knows Napa. Well, if you've ever been, that's all hills. That's all nature. That's all out there. And that's where I can place it, where all these animals, non-target animals are going to get this stuff. I can put it there. So essentially now, from your non-decline, because we had no decline from wildlife from 2014, you're now going to make it so we still don't have a decline because we're still placing it in areas that are going to hit the non-targeted animals. You're putting it where rats go and die out in the field, and a skunk goes and grabs it, a raccoon goes and grabs it. All these animals that are out in the wilderness, in Napa, in the hills, you're now just giving them more of this contract, and now it's going to show up in their systems, and now there's not going to be another decline, and now you guys are going to wonder why. Doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't figured it out yet. So it doesn't really, I don't know what they were thinking when they were coming out with this. But, leave it to the experts. They must know more than what we know. So now there is something on here. So the AB 17, let's see. Let's see, where is it? It says to reduce the poisoning of non-target wildlife until the reevaluation by the Department of Pesticide Regulation, so DPR, is completed. So they're going to prohibit these until there is a reevaluation by the DPR. So they're even saying they're not sure if they're correct by doing this, but they're still going to do it until there's a reevaluation, until we can actually really see what's going on. So they're going to ban something they don't even know is actually causing the issue. They're just going to ban it just to ban it. And then they're going to do a reevaluation at some time. And DPR is going to be involved with that. And same with the Department of Fish and Wildlife are going to reevaluate that. So I don't know what their tests are. I really hope someone can get in there and actually kind of guides that and says where they should and shouldn't do things, or what counts and what doesn't count, and really go a little bit more in depth on what's causing these deaths. And they may need to even go in a little bit further and allow some of these to come back to the market, but they may just need to control the amount of it and what we can use and things like that, because it works really, really well. We've taken down populations of rodents around a property, around a home. I've taken down, I probably went a little bit more than I should have, but this guy, his wife gave me 3 garbage bags full, not garbage bags, grocery bags full of dead frozen rats. She would pick them up off the ground and she would put them in these bags around their property. There were so many rats on this property. While I was doing the exclusion work, there were rats hopping in and out of the gutters. They were going inside of the holes that I was trying to seal up. There were so many rats on this property. They've been there for years. And to be honest with you, the only reason why I was able to gain control is because of contract, because the bait that I was able to place. And I got control so fast on that property. And you just can't get that with some of these new baits. There's some out there, but I think they're doing us kind of a disservice. And I really hope it's not politics from other companies just trying to take out some of the other ones, because they work so well and everybody was buying them and they were actually fairly cheap. Because now we're using some of the other ones, and I'll talk about what they are. And no, we're not getting paid for it. So you pick which one you want. We're kind of limited to a few. We don't really have too many options here. There's some options, but it's really kind of, it's kind of interesting on what we have. But some of the products that we had to switch to, and one that we're personally trying out, so I'll let you guys know how it works. And I actually have a few cases that I just got today, which is awesome. I'll be able to try this. So Cilantro by BASF is one. So they say it's a fast and effective rodent control, but they come in these like little, I don't know if you guys have ever had the now and laters. like they're like the little Laffy Taffy, they're taffy candy. Literally it's like just like that. It's just in a clear little packet, but it's like the same exact freaking size. It's crazy. And so it looks just like that. It's in a little plastic casing, which is awesome because when it comes to rain, especially right now in the winter in Sacramento, slugs would tear Contract apart. And you would you'd throw away so much bait. There's so much bait just getting tossed because there's nothing you can do with it. I mean, they just would eat it all, and then, none of the rats would actually go for it after that. But so essentially they have an active ingredient. It's called cholecalciferol, works by causing calcification, leading to death in 3 to 5 days. Now, good, but also the bad thing is it's leading to death in 3 to 5 days, depending on how much they eat. But the problem is it has a built-in stop feed. So essentially what they were trying to do with the stop feed, and this is what I love, is the wording is the likelihood of secondary poisoning is greatly reduced. So it's less likely that another animal that eats the rat is going to get infected because there's a stop feed. So it only takes a couple nibbles and then it runs off. So essentially what I was coached on with this product is you're not going to get a ton of, it's just not going to be gone. You're not going to go there, open up the bait station, and you're not going to see any bait. Like Contract, you would see a bunch of blue turds inside of a bait station. You knew, okay, yeah, we definitely killed a rat or two. With this one, you're not going to see that. So there's not actually going to be a ton of droppings in there because they're only going to take a nibble. You may not even see any droppings. You may not even notice. So you're going to have to really pay attention to that cube and see where did they take a bite. So you're going to have to be a little bit more conscious. You're going to have to educate the technicians, or if you're a tech just listening, you're going to have to pay more attention to this. You're going to have to see, did they actually take a bite or not? Is it actually working? Do I need to move it? Because I think here if you're using Cilantro, the problem that a lot of technicians are going to run into, one is they're probably going to fill the bait station up, which I am going to be educating my technicians. You're only placing 2, 3, 4 max of these inside a bait station, depending on the bait station that we have and the level of activity at that property. You're not putting a lot because if there's a stop feed, they're not going to go through a block in a day like they used to with Contract. It's done. That's over with. They're not doing that anymore. So you have to just make sure that you're paying way more attention to this to make sure you know exactly what's going on and if you're actually getting hit. Because if your techs are just constantly moving that bait station around, they may not even be able to kill any of these rodents fast enough, or they're not even going to get enough of it to be able to die from it because you keep moving it because you don't think that they're actually hitting it. So just be aware of that. So that has the stop feed in it. Cilantro, that one, apparently that one's a big one that a lot of companies are going with. It's one of the cheaper ones. And it's one of the better, I guess, alternatives, you could say. It's like the medium alternative. The next one is Takedown Soft Bait. So Takedown Soft Bait has an active ingredient of bromethylene, an acute neurotoxin, which will kill a rodent in 2 to 3 days. So this is going to be more like the Contract. So it's going to be really fast. Actually, Contract, I think, was 36 hours, depending on the dose. So Contract was actually faster. It was about a day and a half. You get really fast kill with that, all depending on dose. So this one is highly palatable formulation, will work for large populations, anticoagulant-resistant rodents. Same with Cilantro. That's the same with Takedown anticoagulant-resistant populations. So it's a soft bait. If you're not familiar with Resolve, Resolve was another just like Contract. A really great product. If they weren't, into that harder bait, you would put in that soft bait and they would tear through it. Not always though. I did find out that the hard way. Sometimes they don't even touch that stuff. So it really depends on what. So Takedown, I would be actually pretty skeptical with Takedown. I may buy a bag, maybe 2. It's by Leafitech, but all rodents do not love that soft bait. That is a whole misconception, and maybe that's for a future episode. But yeah, soft bait's not as great as what they all throw out there to be. Maybe in their little controlled experiments when they starve rats for 7 days and then throw in soft bait, they love eating it. But I put it out there and I put it next to some of these, right next to contract, and they went right by it. They didn't even touch it. So it might be good just to have in your arson, but not to always put it out, because it is actually one of the most expensive ones. And you'll probably run through it a lot faster because there is no stop feed in it. So they're going to eat through that. And depending on the size of the rodent, they could eat ounces of that bait. So they're saying it's really palatable, which is leading to the efficiency behind it, because they're going to eat so much of it. It's just going to wipe them out fairly quick. Now, the third bait, I was explained, it was kind of a all natural type of bait kind of thing. So it's by JT Eaton, peanut butter blocks. That's what they call it. So the bait blocks contain an active ingredient, diphysinon. I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. You guys can look it up. I'm not a scientist. I don't make this stuff, so I don't even know how to say it. But it's a first generation anticoagulant that has proven effective over time. This bait requires multiple feedings. So I'm assuming the reason why they didn't actually take away this one is because even though it is an anticoagulant, it's supposed to be more on the natural side. I guess vitamin D or something like that they were explaining. But they have to eat a ton of it. So you're going to go through a ton of bait to finally get a kill. And I guess it takes like 5 to 7 days. It's not showing on here, but that's what I was actually getting. That's what I was being told. So I was told essentially the least effective to the most effective would be the JT Eaton peanut butter blocks, cilantro, then the takedown soft bait. So the takedown soft bait's always going to be the best in this situation with us now. Cilantro, then you got the peanut butter blocks. So there is still some options out there on products we can use to still kill or take care of it. But what I think the main focus is going to be here in California and with a lot of companies now is going to be a more push towards exclusion work. Now, the unfortunate part is if you guys are a one-man show, you broke off of a bigger company, and you're listening into the podcast, I hate to break it to you. If you don't know how to do that work, you're probably going to piss off a lot of your customers and have some cancellations. You're going to have to learn how to do exclusion work, and you're going to have to learn how to do good exclusion work. Today I went to a few properties, and I even went behind guys that worked for bigger companies doing exclusion work, and I took their business. And so those guys lost out on those sales, and it's not because I'm necessarily better than them, but guys, you got to keep your mind open. I don't care if you've been in it for 40, 50 years. You have to learn more information. The Rodent Academy, which sucks, is closed right now, but the Rodent Academy was amazing to go and do and see and learn from other technicians that were with other companies, not owners. We're talking regular techs they sent there, managers they sent there to be able to pass this information down. Use that. Go to those. Listen to the seminars. Watch whatever the webinars are. Do all those things because you'll learn what to do. And I found areas where this guy skipped, and I was hearing vents that need to be replaced because there's not enough ventilation. It's like, dude, you're not a home builder. Why are you telling this homeowner that he needs to replace screens that you don't even know are effective or ineffective? So this guy's completely lying to this homeowner, and I felt really bad. And I'm going to be the honest one, telling him, look, I don't build houses, But literally on the other side of your house, you have 7 vents that are right next to each other. I don't think you have an issue with airflow here. Okay? I mean, this guy had probably 30 vents around the base of his house. And then on one side, they were a little bit more closed off, but they were still vents. They were still open. They were fine. There was no holes in them. There no rodent access, nothing. But exclusion work is going to be a massive thing. And if you guys don't know how to do it, or if you're not even relevant or up to code with that, or even have the skill set for it, I would really start to push and learn how to do those things and get comfortable with it, because in California and in some of these other states that are going to follow right behind us, unfortunately, that's what we're going to get pushed to. And setting bait stations up is not going to be the case anymore. You can't just set up a ton of bait stations and the population just drops and you won. You're going to have to couple in trapping, and trapping the correct way and how to trap. And we've had issues here with my guys. They didn't know how to set up a trap properly, and we weren't catching anything with them. I've had guys even recently set up traps and nothing was getting caught. I go there, set them up, boom, we catch 3-4 rats. Not saying I'm better than them. There's just a lack of knowledge between, what should be done and how we should do things. And some of the places where they've learned those tactics are so old, you can't go off of it anymore. You can't say this one way is correct all the time. You have to play with it. You have to experiment. You're going to have to keep an open mind in this industry. It's never the same. And so exclusion work is one of those things where you have to be able to spot a hole and understand where those holes are and what needs to be sealed and how to seal them properly to be able to make sure that the rats can't get in anymore. And whatever you got stuck inside, well, guess what? We can trap them now. We can get rid of them. And then you're never going to have an issue anymore. Educating the homeowner on what needs to be trimmed back and how often and what they can look out for so that they can get on top of that. Because that is going to be a massive thing that we're going to be running into this year, especially in California. Now that we have to take all these, now we have to switch all this bait out, which is another thing that, if you didn't know this, if you get inspected at a property and an ag inspector's there and he goes and pops open one of your bait stations and there's little blue blocks in there, guess what? That's you. That's a ticket. They're going to get you for it. So, they didn't come out yet and actually say when we have to switch all this stuff up, but that's going to be the process. We're going to have to go through and we're going to start having to switch everything out in all of our bait stations. It's not going to be asked like today if they went out and inspected. That's okay, as long as we're switching it out today. But if they go to a property and check it, they're not going to call us up and fine us for it because they don't know when we checked it last. And if we go into our records and it was 2 months ago, well, guess what? Sorry, dude. You can't fine us for that. So they're not going to fine us quite yet, I don't think. They usually give us a grace period to change and get, everything, fleshed out. So if you guys are in that situation, you guys are starting to freak out because you can't buy contract anymore and you just got told, hey, you got to switch this out. Well, guess what? You're okay. There is going to be time. You just got to make sure that you're doing that in a timely manner and getting on that. But also make sure that you are learning all the new tactics and techniques to do exclusion work and what to seal up and how to seal up and kind of go through that process, because that is going to be the next step. That is going to be the next thing that we have to do to make this work. So just get ready for that, guys. See that. Get ready in your states or even countries. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if any other countries are actually already to the point of taking out some of these rodenticides. I hope not. They do great. They're helping the population stay low. Unfortunately, California, I think it's going to start taking off. And I bet the rodent industry is going to boom this year. I think it's going to explode. We have already had more calls and more estimates in these 7 days of this year for rodents than we ever have in any of the past years, probably in the entire month of January and February. So get ready for that. It's going to be an awesome month, and it's going to be great for the rodent side of things. So guys, get ready, and just remember, get the right bait on hand, get that stuff fleshed out, and get ready for a new year and how awesome this is going to be, and get ready for all this new stuff that's getting thrown at us. It's not a negative, guys. It's not negative. Laws are always going to change. We're always going to have new regulations. We just have to learn how to move past it. And this actually is a great time, because you're going to see who is going to make it and who's not. And the guys who are prepared are the ones who are going to grow from this and make something of it. And the ones who are not, and they're not willing to change, and they're not willing to move, are going to fall. But if you haven't listened to last year's episodes, go back and listen to some of those, because that's going to make a lot more sense onto what I'm talking about today and the importance of change in this industry. We're in an industry that constantly moves, constantly changes, constantly grows in different ways. And we have to do that with the industry. We have to move with that. If you don't, you get left behind, and then you end up losing everything you had in this industry. And we may not like it. Like, I don't like this. But guess what? That's not going to hinder my success and what I need to do. I just need to get better now at the exclusion side of things, at making sure rodents can't get inside, which just opens up a whole new opportunity for us here, to grow and become better at something else. And we don't have to rely 100% on something easy. This is going to make us learn and grow and change. So go back and listen to some of the past episodes. Guys, like we say on every single podcast, we're so grateful that you guys have been listening in and you guys have been following us. Also, I want to hear from you guys. We want to have more visitors on. We want to hear your guys' stories. We want to know what's going on outside of California. We know what's happening here. We need to know what's going on outside. So please reach out to us on Instagram. We're here. We want to talk. We want to listen. No pressure. It's just a conversation. Just get on the phone, call us up. Let's go. But definitely reach out to us. We'd love to have more people on and hear your guys' stories about, the pest control industry and what's going on in your specific state, and really grow from there. So thanks for listening, and please leave us a review, and please send us messages on Instagram at DNA Pest Podcast. Thanks, guys.